guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Yanika and I know today is Memorial Day, so before I get started on this video, I wanted to take a quick moment of silence for those who have passed. Okay, so today for this video, we're not going to talk about those who have passed. We're gonna talk about the living. And one of the things I realized with a lot of my peers who are within my age group, and if you don't know, I'm 26, a lot of us are, struggling with the different life challenges, adulting, if you will. So I wanted to talk about some of the things that I've really thought about since I turned 25. 25 might sound like you're getting old, but I still feel very young. It's just that my mind has grown. And so I wanted to talk about some of the things and some of the challenges I've faced since I became 25 and some of the things I think about for my future. So the first topic I want to hit on is finances. And since I've turned 25, I can say that my finances have been very good, very in order, very stable. Eventually, I would love to get to financial freedom, possibly by the time I'm 30, but definitely before 35. And I know you're probably like, why do you put an age limit on those things? Because it's not really an age limit, it's really me putting a limit by years, and I'm giving myself 4 years to try to get there, and 9 to 10 years maximum. So that's really what it is. It just so happened that I would be turning like 30 and 35 throughout that time. And it's very important that when you're setting goals financially, that you actually put a time limit on it, because that helps you not like deter from those goals. Now, for those of you who are not in a financially stable position, I just want you to know that with hard work and goal setting and perseverance, like, you don't always have to be in an unstable position. Because let me tell you, a couple years ago, you could not tell me that I would be in the position that I am today. So let me just put things into perspective for you. So I was born in the ghettos of Jamaica, if you didn't know. And I moved to the States when I was 11. My mother was already here, but she's a single mother and she didn't graduate college or none of that. So she's not like, school educated type thing. So as you can tell from that, the financial struggles were definitely there throughout my years growing up. And but she did the best that she could. Nevertheless, I went to college. I was like the first in my immediate family to go to college, and let me tell you, it was quite the struggle. I went in with no guidance or anything like that, so it was 4 years of me basically trying to figure out how I'm going to pay for the next semester, because I was getting charged as an out-of-state student. It was a lot, let me just put it that way. So how I was able to get through was, I would get grants and scholarships and the federal loans. That's how I got through. And eventually stuff just went left my senior year, to be honest. I was really over school, and then the stress of just every year, every semester I should say, trying to figure out funds on how I'm gonna pay my tuition, like that just took a toll on me. And I literally just had like a mental breakdown towards like the end of my senior year. I ended up graduating on time, but like, it was a stress, it was a struggle. Then once I left college, I was a broke bitch. I was broke. I was so broke, let me tell you. Let me put it into perspective for you. So I graduated college. I was a little over $5,000 in credit card debt. I had $5,000 that I owed the school for that last summer semester I had to do. I was $52,000 in debt from student loans. Literally all that money went to tuition. Then I also had no money, so I had like less than $100 in my account probably. I was in my mother's house, so I was living at home. And then on top of that, I had no car. I didn't even have a driver's license at the time, so I had nothing. I was literally the definition of a broke bitch. So at that time, I like just did a complete intervention of myself and just trying to get my shit together. And after I started working, the one good thing I could say about myself is I've always been good at managing money. My only problem was I never had money. So it was hard to manage what you don't have. So once I started working and I got really into personal finances and getting my personal finances in order, that's how I was able to get to this point. I set goals step by step. I was like, okay, I'm gonna pay off this credit card because the interest was driving me nuts. I was gonna pay the school so that they could send me my diploma. I was gonna get a car. I was gonna move to Los Angeles because I had made a decision once, you know, it was realized that I'm paying rent to live at home, because I was paying rent to live at home, and then my mother said I would still have to pay rent even if I, let's say, wanted to go to grad school, because there was a point where I did want to go back to grad school online and get an MBA or something, but once my mother told me that I was still gonna have to pay rent living at home, I was just like, I might as well leave. Like, what am I being at home for if I'm paying rent? Like, you don't really have a lot of rights at home even if you're paying rent, so it don't make no sense I'd be here. So I had kind of made the decision to move out to LA, wanted to pursue some childhood dreams, because when I looked at the cost benefit of getting an MBA, I felt like it was useless for me, because it was almost not that useful in a sense for me, because I feel like I could still get a good income with just a bachelor's with my degree and just get some licenses behind my name. So I just decided I was gonna go that route. So I had to save up to move out to LA and move out on my own. Then once I got out here, I had to save up to get a car. I bought my first car. It's a nice little hoopty that I call Dirtbug, but you know what? I own it. And then the only other thing I have is my student loan debt, which I brought down to less than 30K. So that was like a 3-year span of me getting my financial life together. And I have it set up that if I stick to my plan, I will pay off my student loan within the next year. So like, some people might think that, you know, stuff had came easy or something. No, like, it took me a lot of work, a lot of goal setting, a lot of sacrifices, you know, for me to get to where I am. Now, outside of me trying to get rid of these student loans, I also would like to purchase a home or a rental property within like the next, I'd say, 3 years or so. So those are things that took a lot of work for me to even get to the level that I am. Moving out here on my own, that was definitely a challenge. Stuff I went through in college, that was a challenge. And I made it through. I persevered and I made it through. And if you're in a position right now where you feel like, you know, you can't get ahead financially, start sitting down, slow your life down a little bit. It's the perfect time to do that with quarantine and coronavirus and everything. It's the perfect time for you to slow down and take a look at your financial life and plan out for the future. Like, I know by next April, I want to get rid of these student loans. So that means I'm gonna have to do what I have to do, work any extra jobs that I have to get rid of it. Then I'll be debt free. Then I have to start, you know, I have goals of maybe purchasing a property, whether it's my own or just a rental property within like the next 2 to 3 years. So I also have to set plans on how I'm gonna save for that. And so you have to just sit down and look at where you are financially, and then set goals on how you're gonna get to wherever it is that you're trying to get. Nothing's gonna come easy, but like, if you're willing to put in the work, what I realized is that financially you'll be okay, because especially in this day and age, like, there's so much gig type jobs out there. It's like, in my opinion, it's very hard to be broke unless like you're really trying to be broke. If I can come from the ghettos If I can come from the ghetto streets of Jamaica and be okay in these United States, then I feel like so can you. Like, now granted, everyone's circumstances are different and some will have it harder than others. What I'm trying to say is you can overcome it if you really set your mind to overcoming it, if that makes sense. So the next thing I want to hit on is career. Now for me, I work as a corporate accountant, but one of the things you really start thinking about once you hit 25 is, do you see yourself doing this in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years? I really don't. I don't see myself being a corporate accountant 5 years from now. Don't see myself being a corporate accountant 30 years from now. But the one thing I can say about my career is I did make good career choices, I guess you can say, in that it's a stable job. You can expect an increase in income over the years. It's a nice, decent, solid income that you can live with, especially if you have a partner. You can live a very solid life. You can build wealth if you know, save and invest. So it wasn't a bad career choice. It's just that, how do I put it? A lot of accountants or corporate accountants, I would say, who stay in these type of jobs, they have a certain persona, and I don't have that persona. I feel like a lot of the people who stay in this long term, I don't want to say they don't have much of a life, but they don't really have much of a life outside of work. Like, their daily lives consist of going to work, going home. They live a typical, I guess you can call it, middle class life. They can pay their bills, they can eventually afford a home, they can take care of their kids, but they don't do much outside of that. Their life just is very structured, and they don't necessarily have much that they do outside of work. I'm very different. I'm very much I call myself a little bit more on the adventurous side. I like structure, but I don't like when the structure just is too much. Like for me, it's like, if you're okay with doing the same thing over and over again for the rest of your life, then it's a great job for you. But like for me, I don't see myself wanting to do the exact same thing every day for the rest of my life, and that's just kind of the type of job it was. So what I realized is that I actually really enjoy talking about personal finances a lot more, and talking to people about it and just learning about it. I enjoy that a lot more, and I feel like I find that a lot more fulfilling, because I feel like I'm actually helping people in that, versus when you're like a corporate accountant, you're just working for a company and cleaning up their books, basically. Like, that's literally what you're doing every day, and to me that's not fulfilling. Like, it's just not. But it's not a bad career choice, and of course everyone who stay long term is not necessarily like this, but most of them are like the person types I describe. Because even like within my job, like when people ask me what I do over the weekend and I typically have something to say, they're always kind of like, oh, I just stayed home. And I'm just like, damn, like I don't know how to live like that. I can't live like that. Like, I have to, even if I just go on a hike or something, I have to do stuff. Like, I feel like I can't, even though I kind of like being home, at the same time I like to go out and explore and try different things. So I don't know, like I see how a lot of the people who have stayed in corporate accounting long term are, and I'm just like, I never want to be like that. Like, as far as like, I never want work to become the only part of my life. So I think for me, it's just seeing how the people who have stayed in it long term, how they live. I don't want that life. So I think that that's what deterred me from even wanting to stay into corporate accounting. And then also the fact that it's just basically like doing the same stuff over and over again every day. after a while it just gets tiring for me. Like, I get tired of things. So I'm definitely gonna make a career switch within the next 5 years for sure. As I looked at my life and what I like, what I dislike, and career-wise, I said, I think I really want to be a financial advisor. I still want to get my CPA license, and I probably get other licenses down the line. Career-wise, you have to sit down and think about, if you're in similar position like me where you're trying to figure out where you're trying to go with your career, it's very good to just sit down and think about the things that you really like, what you dislike, and then maybe you might like more than one thing. So one of the things you can do is try to volunteer into trying different things. Maybe try to shadow somebody that's doing something that you might be interested in to see if you really like it before you start going and like spending money to try to do it. The good thing with me is that what I'm trying to do is still all within the like finance, accounting field, so it all connects. But like, if you're trying to jump into a career that is way outside of what it is that you're trying to do, then you might want to just shadow somebody first to make sure that it's what you actually want to do, because the last thing you want to do is hop from different type of careers to different type of careers and none of them connect together. And the other thing too for me is, as you know, I came out here to pursue acting, and I still want to do that. And so even when I think about other career choices as far as being a financial advisor, I feel like that can be also very flexible type job that I can do while also trying to pursue some of the other things that I want to pursue. And they're two completely different things, but I feel like I can make them work together. And I feel like it's two things that I would actually enjoy. There's a lot of people who they get to their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, and they're really not enjoying what they want to do. So if you're young like me, it's a great time to figure out what it is that you want in life. But even if you're older, you're 40, 50, 60 or whatever, like, it's still not too late to do something that you enjoy. Just sit down and think about it and think, is it practical? Like, are you able to make that transition? How do you make that transition? You have to sit down and, you know, brainstorm and do your research, and that's the best way to get in a career path that you can enjoy. But you really start thinking about those things once you hit 25, because you really start looking at your future and looking at your life and looking at what makes you happy. And some people end up just sticking to the stuff that they don't really like, and then years down the line regret it. And I'm all about not living life with regrets. So like, make sure that if you're currently in a position that you don't really like, make sure that you're sitting down and making those reflections on where is it that you're trying to go. Like, what is it that you're trying to do? For me, like, my first 2 years out of college, I definitely wasn't thinking long term. So if you're super young and you're already thinking about those things, like in your early 20s, that's great. Because when I first left college, I was just kind of like, I was just trying to find a job that pays decent enough to afford to freaking live. Like, that's what I was trying to find. It wasn't until I hit like 24, 25, which like 2-3 years out of college, I'm like, okay, now I really need to start thinking about what I want to do long term. And that's what I came up with, being a financial advisor. So in the future, you'll see Yanika Chambers, financial advisor. Stay tuned. Also, career-wise, I would love to one day start a business, start a nonprofit. And those are also the other things that you want to think about. Like, do you want to start a business? Do you know what it takes to start a business? Are you willing to put in the work to start a business? Because it's not gonna be easy. You're gonna have to make plans, you're gonna have to set goals. And you know, if you figure that you don't want to work for somebody the rest of your life, that's okay. If you do want to work for someone the rest of your life, that's also okay. I know these days we've been on the wave of everybody trying to start a business. Folks be trying to start a business that don't even know how to deal with people, and it don't make no sense, but that's what they be doing. But then they be trying to tell you to start a business even though their business is not doing too well. If you don't actually want to start a business and run a business, because it takes a lot, you don't have to. Like, don't let people push you into things that you don't actually want to do. It's a lot of responsibility, and if you don't want that responsibility, that's okay. Like, some people just want to get to manager level. Some people don't want to get to manager level. They just want to get paid well and be an employee, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with anything that it is that you want to do. And remember that we spend a lot of time throughout life on our careers, so you want to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing is something that makes you happy, regardless of whatever it is. Just don't let other people put into you what they think you should do. Like, do what makes you happy. Okay, so the third thing I want to hit on is health. And within health, you have like 3 things that you really start thinking about, which is your mental, your emotional, and your physical health. I'm gonna first hit on the mental and emotional first, because for me, it kind of went hand in hand. So the first time I really started looking at my mental and my emotional health was really when I was in college. After my first little heartbreak or whatever, I was just dealing with a lot with college, and college was difficult in itself, and then I was just dealing with hurt from just different things, from just thinking about my childhood and all those things. And it just got to the point where I felt like I just was getting to a point where I was mentally and emotionally drained, and I felt like I needed to talk to somebody. So I think this was like my sophomore, junior year when I first went to therapy, because they had like, you could get 8 sessions per semester. So I went, and it really helped. Like, it really helped me let things off my chest. I was able to let hurt from family off my chest. I was able to just talk about what I was going through in college, because college was just really hard, of trying to figure out how to pay for each semester. That was taking a toll on me. I mean, a lot was taking a toll on me, and honestly, I wish I had continued going to the therapy session semester by semester, because I probably wouldn't have gotten to my last semester in college and got to the point where I was just so mentally and emotionally drained that I literally had a whole mental breakdown, and I was just like, I was so tired of everything. I really was. I just had such a breakdown, and I ended up having to like go back to school that semester to finish up some classes. And I went to therapy during that time, and it just totally changed my life. Like, in the Black community, people always think therapy means that, you know, you're crazy or something, but that's really not the case. Like, if you're really truly going through something and you feel like you really need someone to talk to, and you don't feel comfortable going to friends or family about it, like, it's okay to talk to a therapist. And also remember that your friends and family are not your therapist. So sometimes you need that objective view from a therapist, and for someone to just listen to you and you just expressing yourself. And for me, I felt like I needed that, and so I went to therapy. It was the best decision I ever made, because I came out of it like a whole different person. Let me tell you, I definitely became the Yanika that I currently am from, I'd say, probably that therapy session. And honestly, I really needed it. Sometimes I would go in there and I wouldn't actually be like I didn't really have much to talk about. Like, it got to the point where I had already let everything out. I had figured out coping mechanism for my problems, and so it got to the point sometimes where I didn't have much to talk about. So we were just talking about like how sunny it was outside. Like, it got to that point to where I felt so much more healed that I could just talk about the weather outside. Like, it got to that point. But like, don't, you know, if you feel like you need therapy, go. I think that it's probably one of the best decisions I ever made, because I was just really going through a lot, and I just felt like I didn't have anybody at the time. So that helped me. Now, as far as my physical health, I feel like physically I'm okay with myself. Like, I like how I look, except I don't like my abs. I definitely want to work on my midsection area. That's really a lot of my focus these days. But as you get older, I think that it's very imperative to start working out. For me, it's like I'll work out sometimes and then I won't work out. Then I'll work out, then I won't work out for like another month or so or whatever. And so I'm very inconsistent with it. So one of the things that I'm trying to get better at is just being more consistent with my workouts, because as you get older, it's just like the more lazy you get, I realize. So it's just like you have to push yourself to try to work out, and also not just working out, but also making sure you're going to your doctor checkups. And I do go for like my annual checkups, not just annual, I go like every 6 months. Like, if you have any underlying issues that you think you need to go to the doctors for, do go. Thankfully, I'm in great physical health as far as like, you know, my checkups, everything's good. But you never know what could happen down the line. And then also, if you're someone who has any underlying issues or whatever, you know, you can't necessarily control certain things that you may have, but what you can do is do your best to take care of yourself. Make sure that you're eating the right stuff, make sure that you're following, you know, whatever plan the doctor has. If the plan makes sense for you, make sure that you're doing that, and make sure that you continue to go on your visits, and make sure that you know, do your best to stay in the best health that you can for as long as you can, because there's gonna come a point where you get so old, it's just like some of the stuff is gonna be reoccurring. But if you can take care of yourself now while you're young, you're 25, you're 30, whatever, if you can take care of yourself now, down the line, it'll be a lot better for you. So for me, I want to look like I look now when I'm 40, when I'm 50, when I'm 60. Now when I'm 70, I don't care. My husband can look at whoever he wants at that point. But before then, I want to stay in good, tip-top looking shape. So for me, it's very imperative that I work out consistently and I eat the right stuff, and all that good stuff. So I mean, I'm not gonna give up meat, but like, you know, what I can do is incorporate more veggies in my diet, more healthy type stuff in my diet. And that's just some of the things I think about health wise. And I think it's very important to, if you're not in the best physical shape that you would like, if you're not in the best mental and emotional health right now, it's a very good time, you know, once you hit 25 to start thinking about those things and thinking about how you can fix those things going forward. And even if you're much older, it's never too late to fix anything in life. It's just that you have to be willing to work on yourself, and you have to be willing to put in the effort. That's the big takeaway, I would say, when it comes to health. Like, you have to be willing to put in the work. If you need therapy, you have to go. If you need a trainer, then you need to get one, like that type of stuff. And I'm leaning down a path now that I think I'm gonna get a personal trainer so that I can remain consistent. And I'm honest with myself to know, like, if I need something, I'm gonna go get it type of thing, you know. So make sure that you're taking care of your health, because your health is your wealth. This video has gotten quite long, so I am going to make a part 2 where I talk about family, friends, and then love and relationships.